This is Miss Bagley again, and we are looking at our next project, which is a plaster gauze fantasy creature. When you look at this creature, you can see that it's a fantasy creature. There's an influence of a peacock here, but the rest of the animal is totally imaginative. I'd like you to notice the relationship between the colors on here. These are what we call analogous colors. This was the project before it was painted. Here are some more samples. If you'll notice, they are not realistic. This one is a cat with wings. This one's kind of dinosaur with long skinny legs. This one's almost human-based with, I don't know what's going on in there, but it is imaginative. This one has the appearance initially of being realistic, but when you look at the student's sketch, you can see it is a wolf and a deer combination, but beautifully painted. This one has a very unique surface. It's a combination of a lion and a butterfly, as you can see from the original sketch. And then they added all of this gems on the outside, beautifully executed. Here's an experimental one that used yarn wrapping. You can see kind of it's an elephant with some wings on it. This kind of has a little bit of an insect look to it with a lizard and then wings. This one has fancy wings and fancy head. This one has kind of a deer look to it. Notice the head is turned to try to give it a little bit of life and movement so it doesn't look like it's standing really stiff and still. The colors on this are what we call monochromatic. It's one color with black and white added, so you get lights and darks of that one color, plus the black and white accents. Beautifully done. And here's some more samples in progress. And in the background, you can see some more. I would like you to notice the legs on here versus these. These look like sticks because they are. These have been altered so they look a little bit more like legs. They could have added knees or added a little bit here, but at least it's a step better than these. And if you look back here, there's some more samples. Last, this mouth that's on here is actually made from a water bottle cap. How to begin. Imagine. Do you want something scary, creepy, festive, whimsical, romantic, or fairylandish? Develop a plan, do some research sketches, create a sketch of your final idea. And we'll get to that in a moment. Static versus dynamic. I talked about this a little bit. We want to have a dynamic sculpture. We want to have it look like it has some sort of life to it. Try to turn the head, tip the nose up or down, move the feet just a little bit. Don't alter the shoulder joints or the hip joints. They have to line up with the spine, but you can alter the appendages, move those. Okay, this project is going to require 3 sketchbook pages, one for the vocabulary, one for your research sketches, and one for the final project with your reflection. The vocabulary is on this page. You want to set up your page like this with a heading and your name, date, and period. Copy these words. The definitions are on the next slide. Research. You're going to use the internet to research plaster gauze creatures. Draw your sketches here. These are things that you find interesting. Your original sketch down here should be based or influenced from those. So you're not plagiarizing or copying anyone's, but you might like the wings of one, or the teeth of another, or the legs from another one, or the scales, or the color. Whatever you like, you draw an arrow to your original sketch so that you can show me where your ideas came from. And label the arrows. Tell me exactly what it is. Be clear. Your final sketch will be the conclusion of your project. You will draw your creature with the full color on it. Show me exactly what you did. Describe your media and processes. That's materials, whether you painted or collaged. You can do magazine collage. You can do the little beading jewels. You can use yarn. You can put fuzzy fur on them. There's all sorts of things you can do. Your greatest success and your greatest challenge. At this point, stop the video. You are going to do the 3 sketchbook assignments before we proceed. All right, starting the actual project, you're going to build an armature. The armature is the supporting structure. It is the framework for your final piece. In this case, the final coating is the plaster. In your body, what is your armature? Hopefully you answered your skeleton. Supplies, we're going to basically use foil, tape, and sticks, and then you can add whatever else you like. We are going to gently crush some foil to create a belly. Do not compress the foil. We do that later. Once you compress it, it's really hard to add anything to it. Notice the overlapping foil technique. I make a little crunched up piece here, and then I overlap it to start the next piece and the next piece, and I keep adding on to make it longer. Okay, and you can see the same process here. It's just adding each time. Compare the neck, chest, belly, and tail. The one on the right has been compressed to improve the form. So I start out like this. Looks kind of like a baked potato in there, and it's a little lumpy here. And you can see where it's compressed. I made it like a smoother shape down there. And that's when my project is final. Plan your legs. A tripod will always stand without rocking. Notice that 2 legs can be merged together to make a tripod. Sometimes if you have 4 legs, it'll rock back and forth. Next, you will line up the shoulder blades, then the hip bones, and you're going to go across the spine for those. Tape tips. Never cut the tape with scissors. It gums up the scissors, and there's no reason for it. Rip big long pieces of tape, put them on the side of your table, like that. Take a big piece like that and then rip it up into smaller pieces on the side of your table. If you use tiny pieces, they're not going to work. This masking tape isn't that strong. Align the shoulders. If you attach the tape to the stick and then bring the tape over the shoulder right there so that you line it up on the other side, then put the stick on there. And then you'll have to reinforce it afterwards, but at least you can get it lined up correctly so that this shoulder blade matches that shoulder blade. Okay, align the hips, do the same thing, attach the tape first. This part goes over the back, and then align it once you get it over there so that they're the same length legs. The tripod, now this is where I move the legs together to create the tripod. And then I'm going to just add tape to everything to give it more strength. Okay, you're going to critique, take a look at your project, see what you think about it. Look at your project, see where you want more muscle or fat. On mine, I feel the legs are too skinny at the top. By adding tape, I can make them stronger and bigger. You know the thighs of all animals are bigger than the ankles. Notice how I wrap the leg from the back to the front. If you see, the tape is behind here, and then I folded it up, and then I fold up the other side, and then I just crush it a little bit so there's not an air pocket. Okay, this is with the body fully covered in tape. That sculpture definitely needs more tape for strength. Okay, you may think you're ready to start plastering, but do not plaster without watching the video. If you miss the day that we watch it in class, make sure to watch it on your own. When you go to the link here, it doesn't necessarily work clicking on it, so you're going to have to do the right click thing and then go to opening the hyperlink, I think, you know. All right, here's some tidbits of information for plastering. The newspaper should cover your surface, your table surface. Have some paper towels laying around. You want some dry paper towels, some wet paper towels so you can wipe your hands off. You don't have to run back and forth to the sink. We're going to use disposable containers for water, and it has to be warm water. Warm water works better with the plaster. Prepare the plaster. You want to do this before you start getting your hands sticky. Cut up a whole bunch of strips of plaster, then cut up some little squares from those strips, and you'll use the small pieces for details. If you get any plaster on the scissors, please clean them up right away so the plaster doesn't dry. The sink cannot get plastered on it. Plaster will harden in the pipes, and I'll have to have the plumbers come in and fix it, and we won't have water for a week. So please make sure we throw everything out into the garbage, and hopefully all the paper towels will absorb the moisture. And clothing, keep in mind you want to try not to get this on your clothes. And if you're at home, there's some tips there. Reminder, did you watch the video? And she does not plaster the legs. We will be plastering the legs. Okay, after you get your first coat of plaster on, you want to start critiquing. I looked at my sculpture here and the legs were too skinny. I didn't really care for them. I wanted to create a more unique form. So if you notice right here, they're kind of bell bottom at the bottom. I made them fatter. Here's what you're going to get graded on for the project. 5 points for identification. That's your name and period on the bottom of your project. Balance. Your project is balanced and stands on its own. It does not rock or tip or lean to one side. Having the tripod will be the best thing for that. 3D forms appeared balanced on all sides. It's a sculpture in the round. We want their sculpture to be beautiful from all sides, to be intriguing and interesting. Dynamic, the sculpture shows a sense of life. The head is turned, the legs indicate movement. The sculpture is not static. The plaster quality should be smooth. The gauze texture should not be visible. That's by rubbing the plaster while it's still wet. You'll get rid of the textured look. You don't want any wrinkles in it, and it should be 100% covered in plaster. And it should be turned in on time with the rubric. The rubric from the county goes over the control of media, the quality of what you've created, evidence of thought and decision making, utilization of the elements and principles. Did you use repetition of colors and shapes? Does it have rhythm and movement? Is there movement to the body? Do you have unity with the color? And personal expression. What have you done to make your project unique? So you want to think about all those things as you're designing your project and as you're creating it. And that was the end of my project. Notice I added the wings on it, so I have a Pegasus cat. All right, well, good luck, and I can't wait to see what you make.